As we reflect on our life's journey, it's often those challenging moments, those bumps in the road that end up being our greatest blessings. Welcome to this episode of I Love Your Stories. I'm your host, Hava Gurvich, and honored to welcome Anthony Mottley to the show today. Anthony's career spans working in radio, 2 decades as a TV talk show producer, along with his work as a filmmaker, podcaster, and writer. Join us as we explore how our experiences mold our perceptions, shift our priorities, ignite our creativity, and reveal the true power of gratitude. Now, a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right back to the show. When I started selling my art, I had absolutely no idea how to actually turn it into a business, a professional business. And then I came across art storefronts, and that was a game changer. I've been a customer now for years, and they've been instrumental in every way, every step of the way of helping me succeed. I have a gorgeous, powerful commerce website. I have marketing tools and a membership to a community that is very supportive and teaches me how to succeed as an artist. Um, Check them out, artstorefronts.com, and tell them Hala sent you. Anthony or Tony?
Either is fine. Anthony's fine if you're comfortable saying that, so let's say that.
That's kind of how I know you as
Yeah, that's
Anthony.
fine.
So thank you so much for doing this.
I'm just honored and surprised that you asked me.
Oh, I told you I was going to.
And the funny thing about it too, in my whole career in media, I've never wanted to be in front of the camera. Yeah, I like to make other people the subject of my stories and
Yeah.
tell stories about them. Okay, so what's the goal behind the
Um, so that's a very good question.
now that you're 6 episodes in?
Yeah, yeah. Also, what I find really interesting is having conversations with people who are doing something very different than what I'm
Mhm,
doing. And the best part is when you find a commonality.
mhm.
Like you find something that that resonates for you, resonates for them, and therefore hopefully resonates for anyone else who's listening. Um, and it is sort of like a meta subject. Like, so it's
Mhm.
not just about art. It's not just about filmmaking. It's not about, the situation you're describing is your perspective. Through stories of others, like, you end up learning about yourself,
Right, right.
and so maybe, we can start by kind of getting to know you a little bit, putting you on the
Mhm,
spot a little bit. So, um, you you produced a talk show for
mhm.
20 years, so I would love to
Yeah.
hear a little bit about that.
It's, boy, I had an interesting conversation with one of my mentees yesterday,
Mhm.
and, we were talking about much of what I think you and I will talk about today, and we were saying the idea that there's a sense of randomness to where we are right now,
Yeah.
and for me, that's been the story of my adult life and probably my younger life. I haven't examined it. And by that, I mean, I've never, it's not often that I've said, I have this plan to do something and then it went that way like that. It just, the things that I've done have been just kind of not planned, not expected. So I was working in radio.
Mhm.
Well, rewind earlier. In my early 20s, I was an electrical apprentice, and I had been involved with technology, and still even now am involved with technology. But that was a way. It's hard to get an apprenticeship, and it's tough to get in a union and all that. And I found a guy that would kind of mentored me and brought me in, and then later, I met someone else who owned an electric company, and I worked with him, and it was his sons and some other guys, older guys that he had hired. And I I didn't fit. And I got into a dispute with one of the guys about at lunchtime. I was reading the newspaper and the guy called me college boy. And said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you don't talk to us. They're talking and cursing and talking about women's breasts and all kind of crazy stuff. And I'm just off to the side reading." And I said, "Well, it's just the Free Press, Detroit Free Press. It's not like the Wall Street Journal." And he said, "You act like you're too good." I said, "Well, understand the Free Press is written on a fifth grade level." And he got really mad. He wanted to hit me, I think. And I just at that point after that, I got the worst assignments going forward. Like we rewired a church in January, and I was in the basement without a heater, and you had to strip wire with your bare hands with no gloves on. And it was so cold, it was brutal. So I left there and got a job in radio. And I loved radio, and I'd always loved radio, and I decided, "You know what? To hell with this electrical stuff. I'm gonna do what I wanna do." And I worked in radio for a while, and then I met a guy at a Christmas party, at an ad agency's Christmas party, and he worked in television. And Hava, he told me about how great it was to work in television and how much I would like it, and it's fun, and it was exciting, and I said, not really, not interested." And he just kept calling me and bothering me. So I finally met him at the station and saw what he was doing and said, that's interesting.
And what was he doing?
He was a producer,
Okay.
but I realized I didn't really know, when you're a producer in television and somebody says, "What do you do?" And you say, "I'm a producer," most people, in fact, probably nobody knows what that means. So most people say, "Oh, you get the money." Yeah, and that could be part of it, but that's not really it.
Mhm.
And really, the producer is what you are when you're making a painting.
Mm,
You decide, unless it's a commission piece,
yeah.
you decide the canvas size, you decide, acrylic or watercolor or whatever, you pick the brushes, you pick the co you it's you, and that's what a producer does. We're gonna put on this show about something, and you decide who's gonna be on it, what questions we're gonna ask, what video we're gonna roll into it to show what the conversation's about, and I said, "Wow, this is like playing God." I loved it. And so after that, that's really where I got involved in it, and I found that this is where I fit in. And again, it's a creative atmosphere. It
Yeah.
looks like when you walk into a newsroom at a public television station, it's kinda like a house party. And people are talking, and people are playing music, and people are throwing paper airplanes at each other, and screaming at each other, and wrestling, and flirting, and all kind of stuff, and it's like, how does anything get done here? But yet, at the end of the week, we've got all this product we've produced.
Wow.
And so, I love that.
Mm,
I love the freedom and the creativity of it. I found it very, very challenging, and then I learned about myself
mm,
in that I like things that are hard.
mm,
I'm really never interested in something that's easy. And I think I was born with a high level of curiosity and like, how do you do that? Why did you do that? How does that work? How does that fit together? How long does that take? Does it hurt? Do your hands hurt? Does your neck hurt? Do you get tired of standing there doing that? What's that like for you? And I mean, I could go all day with that.
yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's where that comes from.
Mhm.
And then through those opportunities, again, um, the first full-time position I got about 3 or 4 years later, somebody a manager had come and kinda observed all the people working there as producers and handpicked me to produce that show that I did for 20 years. So that's really in a nutshell where I got started.
Yeah. So one of the things that you started with this randomness,
Mhm.
and That's always it's always so fascinating when you look back at something you've done, especially something that you're proud of,
Mhm.
and you start sort of like walking back, how did it get there and how did it get there? And at some point, there's a crossroad where things feel like really shitty.
Mhm.
And in that moment, you don't know that that shitty thing is gonna lead to something really great. Uh,
When's the first time you experienced that?
um, when I like in 2001, I was working in an art gallery in Chicago, the director of the gallery. It was a good position, and but I just wanted something more, and, I got courted by a gallery in the Hamptons to
Mhm.
come direct their gallery, and so it seemed like a fantastic opportunity. In my head, it seemed like everything I wanted, and, so I, gave my notice and ended a relationship and gave away most of my stuff because it was I didn't have anywhere to put it, and moved out to the Hamptons, and, 2 or 3 days in, I realized that was a big mistake.
Mhm.
The job was not at all how it was presented to me. The living situation was, unusual, to say the
Mhm.
least.
Mhm.
Um And, I left, a really good position behind and a good relationship and friends, and it was a very sort of, at times, lonely summer, um, and yeah, there were a lot of times during that time when I thought, like, I really fucked up. I really fucked up. Um, it ended up bringing me to the next phase in my life. That position only lasted 3 months. I left. I
Mhm.
just I just left. I couldn't, um, and then there was 9/11, and then there was other things, and so there was, like, a series of what seems like, in retrospect, like, it looked like a series of bad decisions, um, but they got me working with a photography collector who I have, collaborated with ever since.
Mhm.
And because of him, um, there were a lot of opportunities in my life that, like, doors opened, people that I met through him, and none of it would have happened if I stayed in Chicago. It was interesting. It was an interesting crossroads because I could look back and say, like, I am where I am,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't be here if I didn't make that series of bad decisions, quote,
Right.
unquote.
It's
Um
interesting too, you said, you talked about the taking a chance
Mhm,
and mistakes, and I understand that, and now as we've evolved, I wouldn't say aged, we it's a journey.
mhm,
Most of the time,
yeah.
even an uncomfortable situation, you
Yeah,
end up getting something out of it. But
absolutely.
for me, I believe we have to be open to that and look for that.
Yeah. You ask when was the first one, and that might have not been the first one, but it's the one that comes to mind
Mhm.
because it was a pretty monumental one. There's been many, many since, and each one has led me to where I'm at now, and same
Mhm.
for you. And sometimes you are in a place where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't have happened because of ABC. Other times you're still sort of like somewhere along the way in the journey and it's unclear where it's going to end up. But it's happened to me enough, life cyclical
Mm.
journeys in life to know that when something bad happens, um, I one of the thoughts that comes to mind to me now is
Mhm.
I wonder what thing in the future that's going to be really great that I'm gonna be able to look back and say, like, "Oh, this situation."
Mhm.
I guess, as you get older, there's this thing of, faith or faith.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like having
it's
faith.
funny Someone I was listening to, it might have been a Joseph Campbell thing. I've
Mm.
been reading and listening to a lot of weird stuff lately, and he's the question of faith came up, and he said, "There's a difference between faith and knowing."
Yeah.
And I think as we get older, more experienced, we move into knowing.
Hmm.
So, you know how and you talked about it, you didn't say it, but you kinda said it. When you get into that situation where you're saying, "Oh my god, this is a mistake." And there's a level of you in your physical self, you feel like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you first start out, for me, like, late 80s, and I make this short 2-minute video,
Mhm.
and you say, "Anthony, show me your story." I was so self-conscious, however, I just thought, "I'll never really be comfortable doing this." Because you feel judged, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You ever feel that way about when you make
Mhm.
something?
I still do.
And
It's still there.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't anymore,
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
and it takes but you know, when you've done, like,
Yeah.
hundreds of things, you present them. I mean, you
Oh,
want
yeah.
people to like
Yeah.
them,
Yeah,
but
I do know what you mean. I mean, there's still times, especially when I take a risk.
Mhm,
And I've learned that as well. I think the closest analogy for me is like if I'm working on a painting, when you don't know where it's going. I can't tell like one minute I look at it and it looks like something really new and exciting. And
mhm,
then the next moment I look at it and it looks like just, like nothing. And, so there's that uncertainty.
mhm,
And, and sometimes, you put it out there and I have to remind myself that I've been doing this long enough and I have to trust that there are some things that I'm doing intuitively
mhm,
um, that maybe don't make sense for me right now, but I know from and past experience that it will make sense to me later. Because so I have to remind myself that when I allow something new to come and try not to be too judgmental of myself.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and even if in the moment I'm self-conscious about it, there's something about, sharing it and
mhm.
seeing that, sometimes it'll resonate with people.
I get so, like, down a rabbit hole when I'm working on something
Mhm.
and so close to it, I can't look at it objectively anymore.
Yes.
And I rely on other people to see it, and then, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
And then it takes 2, 3 months, and then I pick it up and look at it again and think, "Man, that's pretty good." Or I think, "It's okay." But, I mean, I'm a really good judge of what for myself, of whatever I've done. I don't think everything I've done is phenomenal, is great. Some of them are really good, some of them aren't so good,
Well, some of
but
them are
it's okay.
stepping stones for something else.
Yeah, but
But,
it's okay. I mean, because
yeah,
it leads sometimes
it
to
leads to
something
some
else,
exactly, yeah,
right? You build on
some
that.
so what are you passionate about right now? What are you working on?
Um, I'm really focused more on writing
Oh.
than filmmaking and podcasting, even though I love all 3
Mhm.
equally. I couldn't pick one. I think if you don't write it down, then it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, Hava was a great artist, you should have met her. "Oh, I'd love to hear more about her." Is there a book? Yeah, there's a book about her, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's like, it's a thing. Otherwise, you're just this, like, person that
Right.
once I'm gone, who's gonna talk about you?
So
You know what I mean?
are you writing like an autobiography or?
I'm doing that,
Yeah.
and you know what? It's interesting. It's not as much an autobiography. It has autobiographical components to it,
Mhm.
but it's really about my health journey in my life and how that changed my life and what I
Can
learned
you
through
elaborate or is it
pardon me?
can you elaborate?
Yeah, I would start off by saying what I wrote really was that I used to think that I was driving the car. And for my whole life, I really thought I was driving. And then when I wasn't well, when I found out I had cancer,
Oh.
I realized not only was I not driving, I wasn't in the passenger seat, I was in the trunk because we make so many assumptions about life and what we're going to do and our journey and what our plans are. And then life happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, Hava, I was working in the yard and I was trying to get the lawn cut. And I needed to use a weed whacker to clean up some grass that was just growing uncontrollably. And it wouldn't start. And I knew when I started out that day that the weed whacker wasn't probably not gonna start. And so I told myself, well, I'll cut the grass and it's okay. Never mind. I'll get it fixed. I'll do it another day. But you know me, I'm stubborn. I said, I'm gonna try to start it one more time. Maybe it'll start. And I go to pull start the thing and I hear this loud, like it sounded like a branch like snapping or falling off a tree. You know how trees just crack and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And then I felt my shoulder and I was like, oh my goodness, what it hurt really bad. It hurt so bad. So I had uh a 20-pound bag of ice, like a bag of ice like this big, and I put it on my shoulder for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I took that bag of ice off. My shoulder hurt so bad. It was unbelievable. I didn't know that you have an injury and put ice on it, like freeze yourself and still feel it. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was when I went to urgent care, the doctor said, your collarbone's broken. I said, yeah, I figured that. He said, but that's not the problem. I said, oh, he said, you have spots on your bones. And I said, oh. And in my mind, in that moment, I remember that like right now. My wife is waiting in the waiting area. She didn't hear the doctor. I was just he and I talking. And I was trying to like rationalize, well, okay, spots in my bone, I'll be okay. But there was nothing in my mind that allowed me to believe I was gonna be okay. I knew, okay, this is a problem. How bad of a problem, I don't know. I had kind of envisioned just for a moment, oh, worst case scenario, this could be really bad.
Hmm.
But, I wasn't sure. And then I found out later it was, form of bone cancer, and
Oh, wow.
it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And you realize everything you think you don't know. You you think you do. You think you feel the way you feel. You think, I see like, are you afraid to die? Get a death sentence from your doctor. What you have is treatable but not curable. Most people live 10 years. And, then you'll find out if you are afraid to die. Then you'll find out how you really feel. Up until then, and that, get back to your question about faith,
Mhm.
it's the difference between faith and knowing. Because then I knew I could confront it. And it's a hell of a thing to find out what you can confront.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
because you don't know, I can't imagine if I felt like I can't do this. What I thought was, I'm glad it's not my wife. I'm glad it's not one of the kids. If somebody in our house had to do this, I volunteered. That's all I could think.
Mm.
And so I didn't regret that. I just needed to figure out how to get through it.
Mm.
But I learned so much about myself, and it made me realize that things aren't always what we think they are.
Mm.
And we don't know as much as we think we know, but it's comfortable feeling that way. I get why people feel that way. I got this. I can do this.
Yeah.
A guy told me he came to fix my furnace. The guy I went to school with, and he came to put a digital thermostat in. And so I told him I was having chemotherapy and I, whatever. And he said, "Oh, I wouldn't let anybody do that to me." I said, "Well, you don't have cancer. I mean, you can say that
Yeah.
until you get sick. When you get sick, you tell me how you're gonna deal with it. Otherwise, really shut up."
Yeah.
That's what I told him. I didn't say it because I
Right.
try to be kind. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You don't know. And I think it's pretty profound to find out about yourself. And so I wanted to share with other people about that journey,
Mhm.
about that moment. But we all
Yeah,
have
there's
moments in
moments.
our life
Yeah.
where you're like, "Oh my God."
You really learn about yourself.
You learn about
Yeah.
yourself. And I think that part is invaluable.
Yeah. And
Yeah, you learn. Mhm.
it's very humbling.
It is.
Um, because like you said, you can go through life, like, with these grand ideas about who you are, how you might act in a certain situation, what's
Just talking.
important to you, all of it, and, if you don't get to find out who you
Mm-mm.
really are until you're
And
back.
so I think what happens, for me, my values just shifted all over the
Oh,
place.
yeah.
And I was liberating to realize a lot of stuff that I thought mattered to me
Mhm.
didn't mean shit. My feeling was if this, like a bill collector calling me, or I had owed money to the IRS and I like was losing sleep about it. When I got really sick, I realized I'm not losing sleep about the IRS. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that much.
yeah,
Because if this shit is not going to kill me, I don't care. You know what I mean? If I'm not going to die from it, I'm not going to worry about it.
and that's a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
Uh,
We spend so much time on stuff that doesn't matter. It's
yeah.
not gonna affect our lives, and it's so hard to communicate that to people, but that's what I want people to realize, like, you talk about your journey,
Mhm.
our journeys are our own.
And one of the things that is kind of really kind of coming together for me about our journeys, our individual journeys that are punctuated with, like, loss or
Mhm,
setback, all of that, and then triumphs along the way as well.
mhm,
You don't know how you're going to respond
mhm,
to a certain, situation that's a negative situation or just a powerful situation until
mhm,
it happens to you, and
mhm,
it's usually not what you envision
mm-mm,
that you would
mm-mm,
do,
mm-mm,
but when you're through that journey, through that process, um, those are the things that really define you,
mhm,
um, both in life and and with my art. When I make art, like, within one painting, within one artwork, it could be a process that took, like, 20 years. Like, I
mhm,
started, I hated it, I put it away, I pulled it out, tried something, it didn't work, I put it back away, I layers and layers of paint and ideas and story. All I could come up with in my head is something that I already know, and
mhm,
what I'm hoping for is something new.
right,
The only
right,
way to do that is to just go on that journey.
mhm,
I have some works that I just sat down and did, and it came out, and it was great. It was just like this,
mhm,
"Wow, this just came out." But those are outliers. The ones that resonate with me are ones that within the work, I still see the struggles, and that at the end of the day, it's so much about the process.
right,
The thing that's gonna be memorable is the time when something went south, like, really, and then I was a point where, like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. If I could just close my eyes, envision all of it
mhm,
perfect, snap my fingers, and it appears,
mhm,
I wouldn't wanna make art anymore.
hmm,
And I wouldn't wanna live this life if I just
really?
somebody told me the ending because it's all about the journey, it's all about the process for me.
I've never felt that. I've never felt that one. That's interesting that you said that. Um I'm concerned sometimes that maybe I won't have the energy, because it takes I mean, I live this stuff, and so what's fun for me, I'll tell you a real good story. A friend of mine was working for for Humanity,
Mhm.
and, this particular chapter, had been helping veterans get homes
Mhm.
as part of their mission.
Yeah, yeah.
And they wanted to do some storytelling around that. And they had a fundraiser coming up, big function. Can you make a short film for this event? So they tell me, well, there's this guy. He's a Navy veteran. He's disabled. Can you tell a story? So they gave me his number
Mm,
and I call him. I make an appointment. I tell him who I am. I'm here. I'm going to come and interview you for this, this Fragile for Habitat or whatever, and he gives me his address. I go, and on my way over there, then I realize it's just me. And I go there and I thought, wait a minute, now this guy, I'm so eager to like tell a story. I hadn't really thought logistically what I was dealing with.
mm,
He's disabled. He's a disabled veteran. I'm like, is he dangerous? Like, should I be concerned? I mean, I don't know what I'm walking into.
yeah,
I go there. He's like 35 years old, which is shocking to me. He's a young man
yeah.
and he's ambulatory. So he didn't understand what this was about and why I was doing it. And he didn't think he was that important. I said, well, everybody's important. Everybody's story is different. I said, let's just talk. I'm gonna set up the camera, but it's just be you and I just talking. And I have no idea. I don't know anything about him.
Mm,
Ava, he starts telling me the story. It's terrible. But he had all these flashbacks, some psychological issues. He had some loss in his life. His wife was also in the Navy. She died. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is really terrible. But it's an interesting story. So, I interviewed him maybe twice then. And then I went to the house where they were renovating a house for him, small, like 1,000 square foot home. And I met all the people from Habitat and all the electrical and carpentry, all these people, and about what they were doing. They were really proud to be doing that job and doing it for a military person and all that. And so it's getting close, like 3 months, 4 months later, it's getting close to the time to wrap this up and the event's coming up. And I needed the one last thing was to get him at the house.
mm,
And I wanted to get him at the house. And then he told me he would give me pictures of his wife and his daughter. He never sent the pictures. I call him. Okay, I'm gonna send them now. Never got them. So I said, okay, you're not gonna send them. I get it. Please meet me at the house. He promised a few times, didn't do it. I showed up this one last time. It was snowing that day. I get there. I shoot more footage of the crew working. He's not there.
mm.
I pack my stuff. I'm almost getting in the car. Here he comes. I'm like, oh boy, I was ready to go home. But anyway, I get back out the car, get my gear, get the camera, follow him around. He walks through the house. I got footage of him going through the house. He's thanking the workers for helping him. And it was really good.
Mm,
And it's the kind of thing that I really love to do.
mhm,
If there's a signature for my work, is that kind of unexpected, impromptu, real kind of interaction between me and
mhm.
this person, whoever the subject is. And it worked really well. It really did. And I had another issue like that when I first started out where we did the story. It was really good, but it's not good enough. And I was in the shower that morning and I was thinking, it's not working. It's not quite there. And then I thought, the guy, this kid was in a gang and um he said he wasn't in the gang anymore and his brother had been murdered and his mother was really worried about him. And I realized I need to interview the mother.
Mm,
Okay. And so we went to the house to interview the mom. This is crazy. It's so she cooks, right? They live in this two-story house and she lives upstairs and it's 97 degrees that day.
wow.
She's got the oven on high, but it's crazy. It's so hot in there. we were all sweating. And so we said, it's so warm. We try to be polite. Can we do this outside? So we went outside and we were talking to her. And so we asked her, and we used the question in the video. We asked her, your one son passed away through gang violence. And now Marvin was in a gang, and now he says he's not in a gang. What's it like for you, having lost a son, to watch him leave every day,
Mm.
not knowing if he's going to come home? However, that lady started crying.
Wow.
She said, I just pray. And her lip was quivering. I said, wow, that's the clip. That little 20 seconds is what we need. It just communicated the humanity, because
Oh yeah.
kids in gangs killing each other, so what? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But the fact that everybody has a mom, and everybody's mother, for the most part, your mother's your protector, she loves you.
Yeah.
But that, that element of
So let me,
humanity,
as you're telling me both of these stories that you just told me about these films, what stuck out to me is the times when you thought you were gonna do something and it didn't go the way you thought it
Mhm.
was gonna go, and, you had to, like, change course. So the process, you were telling me about the process, which is exactly what I was talking about,
Right.
that what remains, like, for you when it's all done, like, somebody watching the film is going to just see the message.
Mhm.
But for you, you are seeing those layers. You'll always remember how it felt, how hot it was in that kitchen.
Right.
You'll remember sitting there with
But
snow going, "Oh,
that's
he's
the
not gonna
beauty of
show up."
being you and I.
Yeah.
That's the benefit, the blessing that we have.
Yeah, so but
And
it's the process.
yeah,
It's
but
it
we're saying
it
other people, they
Yeah,
unless they do this work, do
yeah,
what you do what I, they'll, and it's
right.
they'll never know. They'll never know.
But I think that sometimes things do come together and people show up right at the right time and the
Mhm.
temperature is great and the interview is perfect and all that. But I'm just guessing that those films are not the ones that you're gonna remember.
Mm-mm. And that
The
really,
ones because there was no struggle.
no,
There was no
no,
struggle.
and that's the thing. The difficulties is what makes it fun, because
Absolutely.
you can look at, like, you look at a painting and you know how many layers there are, actually
Yes.
physical layers on the painting.
And
And
they're
I
all still
sit here
there
can
for me. They're all still
right, they're there and you know them.
Yeah,
And for
yeah.
me, I make a film or I write something, and you rewrite it and you rewrite it and you rewrite it, and it's like no one will ever know how much you put into it. And not that it doesn't matter, it's not, we don't do it so that other people
Oh,
will.
sure, no, yeah. I guess, that was my thought is that what makes it something that you wanna keep doing is that you keep encountering situations where you don't know what you're going to do until you're faced with that decision.
I love that.
And
I
yeah,
really love that. I
yeah.
love the
And sometimes it's grand things, like when you're told that you have bone cancer, and
mhm.
sometimes it's a little thing of, like, do I wait for this guy to show up or do I just
Right,
back up?
right,
But
right.
you don't know until it happens, and then in retrospect, you say, like, "Aha, this is
And
the
you
defining
realize
moment."
every decision that you make, it matters. It
Right.
affects what you do.
Yeah.
And I think, like, being the producer, what we used to have a saying, like, so if I'm gonna interview Hava and Hava is 30 minutes late,
Mhm.
then it's my fault. And we would say to each other, like, if I'd said, Anthony, where's Hava? You said you're gonna interview this lady Hava. She's not here. And that person would say, well, that's your fault. She's stuck in traffic. That's your fault. Like, my fault. Whatever happens as the producer, it's your
Mhm.
fault.
Yeah.
Even though, honestly, I have no control over
Right.
you driving and your traffic.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you're in charge. You're planning this.
Mhm.
It's your baby.
Yeah.
And that you have to own it. And I think that
Yeah.
that sense of ownership, you have to embrace that. It's not about making excuses.
Yeah.
It's about getting it
That
done.
yeah. I like that a lot.
And that process, though, to me is the biggest love story
Mm.
there is in creating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eh, you know, if if you asked me like 15 years ago, like, what's the meaning of life? What do I think
Hmm.
of life is? I actually don't know if I even contemplated that question.
Mhm.
15 years ago, I was like, more about like, what do I want to do?
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Which is normal.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I think about it now and it becomes clearer. Um, the meaning of life is to live it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
To
and absolutely,
to
yeah.
live it because if you are all knowing and you know all the answers to all the questions in advance,
Mhm.
you wouldn't need to live it.
Right, it's not exciting, and I
It's
love
not.
that. I love
Yeah.
the process, I love the uncertainty,
Yeah, yeah,
I
and,
love all of that. In
um
fact, if that's not there, I'm probably not even interested.
exactly, and that's what I was saying, like, if I could close my eyes and imagine the perfect painting and snap my fingers and it's there, I'm not interested in it because it's not I didn't do anything, like, I didn't
Mhm,
create it,
mhm,
I didn't participate in the decision making, I didn't gain any knowledge from it,
mhm, mm.
I
How has your process changed over the years? Now, what do you do now that you didn't do 20 years ago? What things
I
do
think
now to help yourself?
so, I mean, one of it is just dexterity over time,
Mhm,
I'm much more confident with what I think or what I know I can do
mhm,
with paint, with brushes, with the medium that I use.
mhm,
Um, I also have a lot more experience of like experimenting.
mhm,
Of just saying, okay, I don't know where this is going. It's a lost cause in a sense, so I might as well experiment. I might as
mhm,
well just
mhm,
try something new
mhm,
and have a breakthrough. And it's something that I approach with confidence now. So almost like when I go through phases when I have like a creative block and they can last a while and they can be very frustrating. But I also know what waits for me at the other end of that.
'Cause sometimes you need to just walk away from it for a minute.
Well, yeah, sometimes I need to walk away for months, but
Mm,
I know that at some point, like, I just know, like, okay, I'm going through a period of, like, incubation, so to
mhm,
speak, like, something is changing, like, something that I did before that was, like, familiar isn't working for me anymore. Something new has to come in. I don't know what that thing is, and as frustrating as it is, it's also really exciting
mhm,
because I don't know what the next lesson's gonna be. I don't know what's coming next. And
mhm,
I know that it will. I have faith. I've seen it happen enough times that I know
mhm,
that it will. And when it does, it's going to affect me as much as it would affect anyone who's seeing the work and saying, "Wow, this is amazing." Because I look at it as like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this just came together like that." I
mhm,
could have never imagined it. I
mhm,
could have never imagined that I have to go through that journey. So I think one of the things that has changed, for me, um, my art, like, stylistically,
mhm,
um, for one thing, I'm more comfortable doing, like, just pretty decorative art.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
'cause I've been out of grad school long enough to have, like, dropped that doctrine of, like, you can't do things that are just decorative,
mhm,
it's not art. So, part of it is that I allow myself to indulge in just making things that feel good,
mhm,
just pretty flowers or whatever.
mhm,
Um, but also, there's that confidence in like, "Oh, I think I can make this work," like,
mhm,
and then also just that confidence that even when things are really not working, it's all part of the process. It's
mhm,
just
mhm.
it's
That's a good
just
point.
that point where
Mhm,
I'm about to have the next breakthrough.
right.
And, let me ask you, so you said you're really passionate about writing.
Mhm,
So and that you are currently sort of writing about your experience having
mhm.
cancer. through your writing, you want to are you sharing your story, or is it more of, like a teaching kind of
I'm sharing my a part of it is my story, and part of it is what I've uncovered
Mm,
from my story.
mhm,
Um, I'm trying to find something I'll share with you, while we're talking. But yeah, I think, for example, we worry about like uncertainty, like you and I are talking
mm,
about, and that's not something to worry about.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean, it's impossible to know.
exactly.
We can't know,
You don't know.
and it's what they say, "Be comfortable being uncomfortable,"
Mhm,
and that's really, that for me, that's really what it is. I just think that I don't mind that. I don't mind not knowing what's gonna happen. I don't mind, being a little bit afraid,
yeah,
um, and I understand when I'm feeling a certain way, how I feel and what I have to do and how it impacts my journey are 2 different things. Because just like right now or today, you could say, "I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later. I don't feel like it." You know what I mean? You
mm,
got all these things in your mind, these voices telling you all kind of crazy stuff.
yeah.
And when I was younger, that disturbed me. And then I realized, well, you have to like those voices just need to go somewhere and sit down.
Yeah,
No, you can't, I used to tell my son, he would say, well, and I'd say, why didn't you do this, clean your room or whatever? And he'd say, well, I didn't feel like it. Well, I never feel like it. It's not about how we feel. It's really not. It's about, I have to do this.
mhm,
You're a painter. You got to paint at some point. There are days where you don't feel like painting. There are days, and that's fine, but you can't not paint for
right.
5 years.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, it's in learning how to balance that and learning yourself. So I think to me, the critical part is to love yourself, understand yourself, trust yourself, and give yourself grace. And I can't through a book or through some writing, I can't get someone to there are certain things that you people have to go through,
right.
and it's unavoidable,
Yeah.
but you can help people overcome some hurdles, some obstacles, and
Or at
it
least
really I don't know if it's a shortcut, but if you learn to think differently, you should behave differently.
or at the very least, learn that it is possible to think differently.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's comforting because you can find a little bit of gratitude even when things, in the worst of times, you learn from it. Um,
Here's what I wrote, and I'll share this with you.
yeah,
Is part of it. It says, "Today, as a two-time cancer survivor, I understand the importance of gratitude and empathy for a healthy mindset. Our emotions shape our reality. If we believe we can't, we likely won't.
yeah,
Negative self-talk sabotages many people and keeps them from success. Fortunately, empathy can overcome the negative thoughts and emotions that hold us back." Okay?
yep,
Developing self-empathy is critical for changing a negative mindset. Mental fitness begins with showing ourselves grace. I tell people no matter what happens, it's okay. Life is not about what happens to us, but how we respond to it.
absolutely.
So that's really where I'm going. So, last thing, trouble, pain, heartache, and disappointments are inevitable in everyone's life. A mentally fit person leads with empathy and turns every experience into a gift. So
Love
that's
that.
what I want people to get. That
That
it can
is,
be every challenge is an opportunity, and
yeah.
every opportunity can be turned into a gift.
You can't control a situation,
Mm-mm.
but you can control how you react to that
Right.
situation.
The thing about it too is that problem solving, um, that's takes creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so the same creativity, the same muscle that you use to make the paintings,
Mm-hmm.
you can use to make changes in your life.
Yeah.
I am the most optimistic person you will ever meet. But I'm not kind of gaslighting people. I just think when I say it'll be okay, it'll be okay in that it might be painful, it might be uncomfortable, it might be challenging, but it'll be okay.
Will do.
We'll get through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I realized, you know what? I'm gonna be in the hospital for 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not even really one day at a time. It's so hard. It's so Hava, it's so hard. I didn't know you could be that tired and still be alive.
Wow.
When I was hospitalized, one day the nurse came in, they write their name on the whiteboard. She saw, Mr. Mottley, you've been here 38 days. I was like, oh, have I? Because I didn't think about it like that. I just kept doing one morning at a time, one lunchtime at a time, one evening at a time,
Yeah.
and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's all I could do.
That's like,
And so learn to live in that moment. Like we talk about, it's kind of cliche, meditation to be present.
yeah.
But yeah, be present. And it matters.
Yeah,
And
it really
so,
does. It really
yeah, be
does.
present and
Yeah.
just don't, we get all frustrated and twisted and bent out of shape because we want to do 6 weeks worth of stuff today. And you can,
Yeah.
or we want to get to the finish line now.
Yeah.
And you better just lace up your shoes and get comfortable, on the run along the way.
Mhm.
'Cause that's real. And then once you realize that, you enjoy it more
Mhm.
and you understand more about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what the journey is. You really understand, you
And
know,
that's what it's about. That's
that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a really good place to stop, and then
Yeah.
we can keep going forever.
Oh yeah. We could talk forever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing and I admire that you're doing something different
Yeah.
and using your creative muscles in a new and different way. And honestly, I have to say this to you. You're doing a really amazing job.
Oh.
You're very good. And you're as comfortable and relaxed as I when we first talked about you doing this,
Mhm.
possibly doing this, as I hoped you would be.
Oh, good.
I'm really I'm very, very pleased.
Oh,
I
good.
feel like you're my child and you're taking your first steps. But you really you're doing a really good job. And
Thanks.